hero feedback should go down from 16 to 14. This has also been discussed in the community before. It used to be 12, but it was buffed to help human defend a bit against harass. Mana burn continues to be an extremely powerful mechanic, just like mana gain through potions has been traditionally an extremely valuable and powerful mechanic. As such, I find that most of the numbers for mana burn in the game are generally leaning towards a bit too powerful, and most of the mana buffs that you got from potions had also been too powerful. And we've seen changes like greater mana pot and mana pot giving less mana than before. Wand of Mana Steal is also just a very good item. It was attempted to be buffed before, and I don't feel like it was merited because mana is really valuable. We see this over and over. So this is a lot of mana burn that it's fun to lose all your mana, and Arcane Tower is already very good. It has 800 range. No hero wants to stand in it, and it's too punitive, so I think we should bring that down a bit. A lot of talk has been made about Sundering Blades. Sundering Blades gives a 10% attack damage bonus to only medium armor. That's roughly what attack upgrades generally do. So to simplify Sundering Blades, I see a lot of people talk about Sundering Blades being a kind of special upgrade. It is special in that it only targets a single armor type, just like Martyr Team's Frag Shards targets medium and unarmored. So the Sundering Blades target only medium. So Sundering Blades, we should understand where it came from. It came alongside with reforged early changes. It was not a part of the old heyday of Warcraft 3. It is a new upgrade that has a pretty badass looking graphic, and it'd be cool to keep that rather than just remove it or something. And Sundering Blades was called into life because Knights have the biggest use application against undead. Knights didn't see a lot of play against Orc, they didn't see a lot of play in Human Mirror because of Spellbreaker timing hitting earlier. We didn't see a lot of Knights against Night Elf because you couldn't really get to it. You generally had to expand or rifle rush, and when you expanded, you generally had to hit a tier 2 follow-up timing rather than being able to somehow go to tier 3. So, as a result, this was a targeted change to help Human with Undead, and Human was losing quite a bit against Undead. But the matchup has become more balanced than before, and therefore the life, let's say the justification of Sundering Blade's existence against Fiends isn't as much there. Undead style has shifted from Fiend timings to Ghoul timings, and Undead have shifted from 1 base play to 2 base play. So the era in which Knights needed a special upgrade to help them deal with Fiends doesn't seem to be upon us anymore. And therefore, I am of half a mind to just remove the ability. But I also feel like you can just keep it since the design work has already been put in to allow this upgrade to happen. You know, there's a graphic for it, there's an upgrade for it, so I guess it's just 1 extra attack upgrade, which is at least somewhat unique. Most units have 3 attack upgrades. Knight is gonna essentially have 4 when it's against medium. I'd say set the cast at like 125, 125. Make it research short, because Blizzard is oscillating between either having it be embedded by default once you reach tier 3, or to need to research it at a cost. And there's no more need for them to have baseline Sundering Blades when they come out of the gate, because those Fiend oppression days are over. But let's not remove it, let's just make it kind of a normal balanced upgrade that's roughly slightly more the cost than the first attack upgrade, but less than the second attack upgrade from the Blacksmith. Make it 125, 25. Do a middle way between research time 0 and just straight up researched and needing to research it, but don't make it last long either, because it ain't that special. It doesn't greatly change how the game is played. 25 seconds, and that makes it less of a friction to upgrade it. Okay, next. Flying machines feel like they are a little too effective at countering all area in the game. Once you have enough flying machines, they destroy Hippogriffs because they're faster than Hippogriffs. And then they destroy Wind Riders completely, they destroy Destroyers. Flying machines should normally not be your go-to against something like Frostworms, but if you approximate Frostworm population count, obviously they're going to just destroy them too. I feel like they're a little bit too good when you have a decent amount of them with flak. They pretty much dominate 4-on-4. Even Backriders cannot appropriately counter them. So I say just slightly reduce the splash damage. Don't affect them as a single unit. Just slightly reduce the splash damage by 1 per level. I looked this up. Apparently they have 7 splash damage to 75 range, which is very close proximity. They do 6 damage to 150 range and 5 damage to 325. Just drop it by 1 per level. And I think that's fair. They are counterable by Panda level 3 and 1-on-1. They're counterable by Dreadlord Carry and Swarm. But for the most part, once flying machines start being on the field, the air battle ends. It's just over. No more Wind Riders, no more Destroyers. You just play without. And the human keeps like 8 flying machines in the sky, and that just ends it. There's no reclaiming air against them. It's a little too binary. I think they're a little too good. So, slight nerf. Next up, fast expansion. It seems like Orc is the only race that can't fast expo at tier 1, and Human is the only race that can always fast expo, even if you put all your effort into stopping it. So Undead, if you try to expand as an Undead, and the opponent plays 1 base rush, you can stop it with expo. Right? You can go Hunters all in, you can do double ranks Headhunter all in, Human can rush it with Archmage level 3, but Human can expand every single game, and none of the 3 races can stop them. They can only try to hurt it. And sometimes with success, but I feel like more often than not, they just work. I'm not 100% sure how to fix this, or if people agree that it needs to be fixed. So perhaps you could slow down the power build formula in general, or maybe just add 5 or 10 seconds to the Town Hall build time. Now, admittedly, a Town Hall already takes 180 seconds to build. The Great Hall is 140 seconds, the Gold Mine is 110, and the Tree of Life is 120. So it is already by far the longest. But if you power build it, then it is of course by far the fastest. And that is a great part of why they are to expand that early. And we do it so early before enemies have a lot of units to slow them down. So they pretty much always get it, and I feel like it is a somewhat of a balance issue. But even with that, Human matchups, win percentage for both sides is not that bad. Like, I feel like it's pretty even for most of the matches. It's hard to really get reliable numbers because there are so few top players, and only top players look at, which even doesn't include me right now. And a large part of that, again, is from like several players, or even sometimes a single player that just ends up dominating the scene, and then might even call forth his own demise by getting nerfs against his race. So there's also a philosophical question if that's correct. Like, if you think one person is just exceptional and is so strong, then should he really be punished with balance changes and nerfs against him? But that's a whole another can of worms that I don't even know how to get into it. We've seen this with Maru in StarCraft, we've seen this with Happy in Warcraft 3, we've seen this with Gaming Gladiators in Dota 2 recently, right? So there's all kinds of situations where they do nerf the best strats by the best players, and it just keeps the game vibrant. So maybe that's okay too. So anyway, fast expansion, maybe 10 seconds slower. Footman maybe could be a little bit more HP, plus 10. I'm not 100% sure if this is a good idea. My goal is to make Human single base more valid to compensate for this change. But Footmen also get used in fast expo, so probably this might not be the right goal. Maybe it should be Riflemen get plus 10 HP. Which, because Riflemen actually are the unit that gets used the least when fast expanding. Usually a human that fast expands against undead goes straight to knights and flying machines. Against Orc, it's usually sanctums or griffins. Human mirror, if you fast expand, you don't go to rifles ever. And against Night Elf, you will either place 1 base rifles or sometimes rifles in a 2 base army. So maybe this can help enable 1 base more. How much HP do rifles have? It's 535. So it'd be from 535 to 545. Okay, next, castle upgrade, 20 gold cheaper. I cooked this up because it allows for some of that fun style that we've seen sometimes from players like Hawk. Hawk has had some pretty effective single base strategies, like Archmage, Mountain King, Paladin. and then Rifle Priest, and then go for Inner Fire against either Undead or Elf, or both. I feel like that's a super fun style to watch. It's very skillful. On the human side, it's skillful. On the versus human side, they're running a tight ship with like 8 or 9 lumber pigeons, no fast expo, and just a lot of micro. It's the creeping battle that makes Warcraft 3 so iconic. So I feel like this might help with that. Though, of course, as usual, with fast expansions are possible, they also have the fast expo style. That's kind of what makes it complex, but I think this could be quite nice. Blood Mage Flame Strike is kind of it's a very strange spell. It's one of the few or only abilities now that can be cancelled mid-cast. You will lose the mana, you'll see part of the animation, but you don't get the pillar of damage. So you could lose 135 mana, like when you see Blood Mage start to cast, you insta-hex him, he loses 135 mana, no damage is dealt. Maybe this will help a bit with that, making it feel slightly less punitive. You can also make it uncancelable, like the kill from Cryptwork used to be uncancelable. It used to be cancelable, now it isn't. Because such changes require more layer than just perform their role of anti-air against humans fast expo is fast enough to get they can sometimes population as well, but they don't feel particularly exciting or useful in any combat that doesn't require them to cast aerial shackles. And it's fine for units to be counter units. The Gargoyle is a counter unit against air, but still has purpose against ground. And that makes them an interesting unit. So something just very basic, just make humans experiment with Moss Dragonhawk Riders after expanding against Dryads, or like one base Griffin Dragonhawk Rider against Orc. There's a couple of situations where this could be a thing. Alright, next up, Sorceress Polymorph. This is a change from Blizzard. On the PTR2, it can now target heroes. We keep that, but instead of lasting 3 seconds, I think maybe it should only last 1.5 seconds. Even a 0.1 second cast of Polymorph would already have value, because it would interrupt any heroic ability that requires channeling, such as Starfall or Tranquility. Right? So even 0.1 second would be obnoxious to deal with. It would interrupt Starfall's teleportation. 0.1 second Polymorph feels weird, looks weird, and doesn't, it doesn't have a lot of lucidity in analyzing what's happening. It's not good for against new players, obviously. They won't know what's going on. You hear a sheep, but there's no sheep. It's already gone. 1 second also feels too short with that same reasoning. So I think if you're going to keep this change at all, maybe it should be 1.5 seconds, which feels like the minimum amount of time for such a late-stage upgrade. Masonry upgrades. This idea also from Save Forecast. I think it's a very good idea. We had a streamlining change for early Reforged, where Spiked Barricades for Orc was reworked. Spiked Barricades used to do 4 damage at level 1, then 10, then 16, I think. And it really just wasn't good. 4 damage at 1 did nothing, level 2 did almost nothing, and level 3 was good, but it only affected small units, and it didn't really affect big units. It had a really cool change where it has partially percentage damage and partially flat damage, and it was scaled down from 3 levels of upgrades down to 2 levels of upgrades. And why not do the same for Masonry? Are you really in one-on-one ever going to upgrade 3 levels of Masonry and very fast? You're not. Nobody does that. And in FFA and 4-4, once you do 3 level upgrades, it's really be an obnoxious slog to take down buildings. 30% that is an insane amount of pretty insane. 10% total of 7 on buildings instead of 3 for a total. Spellbreaker. Spellbreaker, I have a lot of notes, but just like the Dragonhawk Rider, I do think it's going to create a very large difference. So Control Magic as a tier 3 upgrade, and momentarily a tier 2 upgrade for a couple of years. I think it's a bit small, but I think it's a little bit too effective in some factors, particularly preventing usage in order to I'm not sure if these changes are going to appropriate the upgrade, but I'd like to stimulate discussion in this direction. I think it's not a bad idea. Suggesting base mana cost multiplier able to take 500 HP worth of summons. I hope my maths is right here, but I think it is. The goal would be to keep the average functionality of Control Magic the same, while making it less effective against something like a Healing Ward. A Healing Ward has 5 health points. Therefore, any unit in the game one-shots it.
Is there trouble?
You could improve this to 10 HP, but
great
then
outdoors.
Peon or a peasant wouldn't one-shot it anymore. And that may feel frustrating when you were used to being able to do that. And perhaps that remains the best way for a Heal Ward to be. But there is something to be said for making Heal Ward 10 HP, 15 or 20. But I also think it's okay if it remains at 5. I just want to stimulate some thinking about that. So Heal Ward currently costs 25 plus 2 mana to steal, which is 27 mana. It can be done at 700 range. The Heal Ward then becomes the human's Heal Ward, and then they will start percentage healing for their whole army. You can of course keep casting Heal Wards and hoping that they don't steal one of them, but against any human of over 2000 MMR, if you have Control Magic, if you're going for Healing Wards, which you never do, and then you have to kill your own Healing Wards. So it makes it unusable against human in all matchups. 1-on-1, FFA, 4-on-4. Should it be usable? Yes, because it's not like Heal Ward has no counterplay. You can just auto-attack it, right? Get a unit near, auto-attack it. This power is increased. You can still steal it with breakers, which, I mean, in my opinion, maybe it shouldn't be stealable by breakers. But let's just make it cost slightly more. So increase the base mana cost for Control Magic to 45, but make the HP multiplier cost 0.40. So before 5 HP unit, the Healing Ward costs 25 mana. I'll take 5 HP times 0.45 for a total of 27 mana. And this game costs 47 mana instead, which is still dirt cheap to steal a Healing Ward, but at least it's almost twice as expensive. And to show the change it would have on other regular situations. 360 steal, and after the change, feel like 20 is too much, especially on heroes. So it could either be 16 against units and heroes, or just 16 against heroes. So either one. And I feel like that'd be a fair change because every mana burn in this game is basically a little bit too strong. Siphon mana, Arcane Tower, mana burn, and Spellbreakers. Because Blizzard didn't used to value mana at the amount that players end up valuing it based on competitive merits of everything. So I think that'd be a good change. Next up, Night Elf. Hippogriff Riders. Most of my Night Elf changes are to make units that barely see use to be more effective. So you've got Hippogriff Riders. They pretty much only have one purpose right now in Warcraft 3 one-on-one competitive meta. And that is to play against Undead after Demon Fast Expo or Keeper Fast Expo. So you convert your 5-6 archers to Hippo Riders, and then you go Fairy Dragons, and then you try to just outpower the enemy beats with your massive amounts of air powered by. However, Hippogriff Riders are worried to like maybe Hippogriff can get plus 20 HP to make them work a bit better against Gargoyles, to make Hippo Riders also have 20 HP more. It's not like they're going to be OP against Orc. You probably won't see them much or ever. You're probably not going to see them in Human. You're probably not going to see them in Night Elf Mirror. And it would pretty much just be a change for Night Elf Undead. I do think giving 20 bonus to Hippogriffs would be a good specifically to Undead. If Elf needs this change against Undead, right? If they need a buff against Undead, then 20 HP on Hippos could be a nice change, but I haven't listed it here. Next up, Mountain Giants. I think the theory of Mountain Giants is a cool idea, but I really just don't feel like it. Taunt is too easily overridden by players. It's only good maybe at very low. Forcing a single attack matrix on themselves it just feels like kind of a conceptually working design. People have more than 80 APM, right? You've got higher level players playing with 150 APM or more, or 80 APM, 200, 250, 280, 300. They're not going to be phased at all by a single taunt. And also, Mountain Giants right now don't feel like you ever make one of them. It's either you make none, or you make a lot, and then you make taunts kind of obnoxious by having a constant spam of overriding taunts. Mountain Giants are also too bad at defending other units because they don't have any crowd control and they're just really if you go on a safari with your friends and 5 of you wear armor that makes you safe from lion bites, but one of your friends you really like, you don't give him the armor that protects him from lions. And then you go gallivant in the Sahara, right? And are there lions in the Sahara? Probably, right? And then your friend dies, and all of you have like a terrible day because of it, because he doesn't have the armor. It doesn't make any sense. Likewise, you're not going to go 2 mountain giants and 2 archers and be like, the mountain giants are going to protect the archers from the ghouls. No, they won't, right? You're just going to ignore them and eat the archers. So, how about giving Mountain Giant a reason to exist in singular numbers? Just like the Abomination, as a singular unit, can do Disease Cloud on everybody. You can make more if you want to have more meatballs. Same thing with Mountain Giant. Make them useful as a singular unit, and then maybe if you want more of it, then you make more of it, right? So there is a reason to make more Mountain Giants, because you want really tanky units that can also use the top and kill buildings, right? But how about give them another ability? Bulwark. All units near Mountain Giant gain 2 armor and 15% magic resistance for 3 seconds. I've thought about more armor for longer periods of time, like 1 armor at 10% for 6 seconds. But how about making it really short? Increase the skill spread of armor and then at the right time. You can use blue mitigate could even be like going to get Thunderclap, Flame Strike. If they're ignoring your Mountain Giant, you have one Mountain Giant, and they're going to your Archers or your Dragons. You hit the Bull Army, and they don't just hit the Bull Army. And in doing so, the MG truly is a tank that essentially has a short pulse aura. Could be pretty cool, and it would maybe give them a reason to exist alone altogether. Next, Blade Throwers. Reduce build time by 4 seconds, and also increase their movement speed by 20. This was suggested on the PTR. I think it's a great change. The current movement speed is 200. It will go from 200 to 240. They tend to lag behind, too slow. I also think flamethrowers build too slow, which also makes them repair too slow. Nobody is making flamethrowers right now, so let's see if there can be some cool strategies. Easy rush, flame rush. Sometimes maybe you want to see flamethrowers. You're not good, you pretty much see that. One upgrade attacks, which makes it virtually not necessary. Also has skill free. Ancient Protectors are one of the highest XP donating defensive structures. Most defensive structures like Burrows, Watchtowers, give them 25 XP when they die. Real life does give XP. The Fabulous can't fight, so it doesn't more XP than real life, and the Citadel gives more XP than so those do ramp up. And Ancient of War, just in case you're wondering, oh, I get why to 60 instead of 35. Well, it is just a tower. There's a Wisp inside. So it should give 25, 60 instead of 25 or 50, that feels like a lot. And it feels like a lot. Because even the Ancient of War, which is also a fighting building that has a Wisp inside, that just gives 25. So why is the Ancient of War not 60 or 50, right? Ancient of Lore, Ancient of Wonders, all these single buildings that don't have transformational upgrades like new bases, they just give 25. So the Wisp is not counted as XP given. And I don't think it should be. So I think Protectors can just be 50 XP at least, at most. Maybe 25 or maybe 50 instead of 60. Chimera feel a little bit too rare at the moment. They come from a telegraphed tier 3 building that does nothing but make Chimera. Basically that means they're tier 3.5 plus. You go tier 3, then you make the Roost, then you make the Chimera, and several minutes later after getting to tier 3, you've got them. So that's tier 3.5, right? So it should bring their build time down from 60 seconds to 55. They're a little rare. They could be cool tiebreakers when fighting a human that does like a slow tower crawl towards you with Mortar Rifle, Breaker Priest Sword, Archmage, Blood Mage, or Archmage Paladin, and a bunch of towers. Chimeras are useful for that situation, and so I think make them a little bit more available, right? Now for the Priestess of the Moon. Priestess of the Moon currently has Searing Arrows, and attempts have been made to rebalance it. It used to cast 8 mana, doing 10, 20, 30 damage respectively on the 3 levels. However, it's not an interesting ability. When you manual cast it, it actually has a hidden bonus of 100 bonus range, going from 600 to 700, which is a cool hidden effect that no new player can know about without seeing this difference. That part at least is unique. However, this also, it's in a weird spot. Priest of the Moon is someone who gives 10, 20, 30% respect to bonus damage for range. And it's better when you're alone. Anytime you have something that loves, something you get a lot of, it's better than when it's 50% because they're very little. Conceptually, she is basically a third hero. She's not conceptually a first hero. And the only reason that ever works at all is in a 9-up mirror. Sometimes work because of various factors that I don't want to get too deep into right now. But we see Priestess mirrors and searing attacks are part of that, but it's mostly based around true shot. And searing arrows will not be used as a third hero priestess because she'll rather be carrying an orb of venom, which does a lot of damage and is an orb effect, the same as searing. So priestess third just goes true shot max and then searing for second to be something you searing anyway. Which is something that doesn't really work. Probably replacing it with something a little bit more fun and interesting that also has early game use. Maybe she would with a leap like Mirana from Dota 2. Leap having 2 charges, 16 second cooldown, allow her to quickly traverse something like 400 range, 40 mana cost, and then add a little bit of bonus damage, 515 and 515 attack speed percentage for 5 seconds. I thought about multi-shot, maybe, but that's also not that interesting. You would have to split the amount of damage per shot. Be interesting if this would be cool. Leap in, steal an item, leap out, leap in, kill the peasants, run out. It will be like a soft version of